I'm like, not you calling this the end.
It looks so dramatic.
Jesus.
I'm gonna just keep this rolling for
like,
everyone to see us. Last time I'm wearing a vixen.
My gosh,
It
I
was
know.
the honor of a lifetime
Oh my
being a
I know.
vixen.
It was an honor.
Okay,
Okay, ready.
ready.
What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLAG.
And I'm NB.
And for the last time, this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 7, Episode 20. And it's called Chapter 137, Goodbye, Riverdale.
Goodbye, Riverdale. And don't forget, guys, stick around. As you know, the end of the podcast, we are going to go through our recap roundups. We have so many amazing roundups from all of you guys. I am so excited to get to that. This is going to be a long one, but so I think that's what you guys want. Buckle up. Get a drink. Get a drink like JLAG. Get situated. Get comfortable. Cheers. This is for you guys, and let's do it.
Absolutely. As always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you so much for joining us. Let's just get into this episode.
Let's talk overall thoughts. What were your thoughts overall?
Overall thoughts. It's a finale. It's a series finale. We got to the NNB. We got here. Listeners, we got here. We did the damn thing. Everyone who's stuck out from season 1 to now, it has been a fucking ride.
Journey. It's been a ride.
Journey and a half. And of course I have issues with this episode, girl. As just like every other episode, I got an issue. But the way
you're more like forgiving.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, we got what we got, and it was a good ending. It was a fantastic ending. Beautiful. So many beautiful, absolutely gut-wrenching, teary-eyed moments this episode. Basically. And then some funny, okay, that was a choice moments that I'm excited to talk to you about as well. What did you think about this episode?
Yeah, you know what? A series finale is always so challenging to put together, and I've listened to a couple of like podcasts this morning, and like everyone says the same thing. Like it's a hard thing to cover off.
Yeah.
So I think they did a great job. I think overall they did a great job wrapping everything up and like truly giving us a send off that like felt so special and like so what's the word? Like it just kind of it reminded you of like so many things that we've experienced with these characters. Sentimental, that's the word I'm looking for. And so I did appreciate that. I do feel like, and I watched it the second time, and I do feel like the writers now looking, because I know people are like, this season sucked and like it didn't make sense and like nothing connected to like what we watched for 6 years. And looking back now, like I feel like they tried to right all of their wrongs in this season. And like, especially in this episode too, like Betty literally is like, I never got my last day at school. And like, cause we never got that emotional send off, them leaving high school forever. They just like became adults. And like, so I was able to really like love this moment of this last day of high school and like getting her to like sign the yearbook. I liked it. I really liked it overall. Couple of things that I'm like, meh, but overall it was amazing. I did question why they used Betty as like the main through line for this episode, because like it is Archie. Like I just questioned why they didn't just use Archie as like the main sort of storyline.
Let's talk about that. I think that like just right off the top, the reason, my opinion, that they used it is because you want to cry with Lily Reinhart. Like let's be real, you want to cry with Betty. My second theory to this is, yes, I know it's about Archie and Archie comics and Archie and Friends, but for me, the MVPs, if you want to tally up all the MVPs in the
oh my god, we should have done that.
It's been Betty.
It's been Betty.
This is Betty's show to me.
And you know what, JLAG? When you think about the pilot, no, you're right. Like when you think about the pilot, we start off with Betty. It's in Betty's room and she's talking about Archie and like Kevin's with her, but it's all from Betty's perspective. And like then she goes to the diner and then we get to meet like Veronica and Archie. Yeah. But like if you really think about it, like it does really start with her.
And even to what you just said with Archie in the diner and then Veronica coming in, it really is from that perspective of Betty and Archie. And I don't know, I felt it made sense to have her as the final person to talk it through. It wouldn't have been the same connection if it was Jughead and Archie, like him kind of walking 100%. Him through. And honestly, love Archie as a character and where he ended up, but at the same time, we don't have the same emotional connection to him as we
100%.
do to Betty,
What
for
did
sure.
you think about the actress? Like, what did you think about them giving like another actress to play like old Betty?
I liked it because I thought that they were gonna like old her up, and I was like, I don't know about this, man.
Yeah.
It definitely gave me like Titanic,
Yeah.
like it's been 100, wow, 75
I feel like they
years.
just copied that meme.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
very
will
that
say,
vibe.
like, they did choose the perfect actress. Like her eyes looked like Lily's
Yeah,
eyes, and I'm sure
yeah,
that's kind of what pulled them to choose
great
her. And like,
casting.
because that's an emotional part. Like she's basically dying, and like you want to
Right.
feel that, even though you
Yeah.
don't really know her really as a character. But I felt like they chose the perfect actress to sort of like reflect Betty and Lily. So I think they
Yes.
did a good job with that.
Yes. I'm super excited to get into this with you. So let us get
Yeah,
going.
let's do
You
it.
ready?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So it starts off with Jughead narrating, and he says that it's 67 years later, present day. So we're back in 2023, or according to their math, maybe a few years off, which is
Yeah.
usually the case.
Present day.
Um, and he does kind of say like he essentially does say like this episode is about saying goodbye. Like he
Like
just
get
like
ready.
he's like just letting you guys know this is about saying goodbye. Um, Betty is now 86. She's resting in her room at her granddaughter's house. And she's like looking through like a year. No, she's looking through the newspaper, and she finds out that Jughead has just died. He died at 84,
Mm.
and she looks at her grandma or her granddaughter and says, I want to go back to Riverdale. It'd be really, really nice if we can go. And her granddaughter's name is
Mm.
Alice, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah.
And her granddaughter's like, sure, grandma, like if you're up for it tomorrow, like maybe we can go. She's like, okay, cool. So then Betty wakes up in the middle of the night, and young Jughead is sitting across from her and starts talking to her. And he says, she's like, oh my gosh, it'd be so nice to go back and see everyone. And like, I wish I could just like relive like one more day if I could. And Jughead, this like whatever timeline Jughead is like, absolutely, like we can do
We can
that.
do that.
We can do that for you this one time. Just choose a day.
So, question here for you. A
Mhm.
lot of people online I was seeing were wondering why this character was Jughead and not Tabitha.
I I could safely assume that they just have a stronger connection. Like Tabitha
Okay.
and Betty don't really have that connection.
True.
So
Yeah.
it's just nice to see that kind of, and also I think it makes sense because of the fact that it's not like he's like, my name is Angel
Yeah,
Jughead.
yeah,
He doesn't
yeah.
like claim himself as anything supernatural. For all we know, this is just a figment of her imagination, right? Like
Yeah.
we can safely assume that like
Yeah.
he doesn't even probably exist. Um but I also think too, it makes sense because he is the narrator of all of
Yeah.
Riverdale. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't
it
mind it
makes
as much.
sense.
I just thought that was an interesting question. Like, oh
Good
yeah,
question.
because
Good
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Fair. Um and so anyway, then he says like choose a day, and she says, I want to go back to our last day of senior year
Hmm.
where everybody got their yearbooks. I did not get my yearbook that year because I got the mumps and had to stay home,
Yeah.
and I never got anybody to sign my yearbook, so it would be really nice to do that. So then he's like, okay, sounds good. Just go walk through that door and like we're good to go. So she walks through the door, and then magically she's back to being young Betty. She has a moment in front of the mirror where she's like, oh my God, I'm so gorgeous. Oh my God, I'm so young. And she does say like, why did I ever think I had any insecurities? Like I was freaking
Mm.
hot stuff. Like back then I felt like I was so ugly. Um, and it kind of starts off with, oh God, it's like hurting my heart just even think like playing it back. She sees Archie through the
Mm-hmm.
window, and he even
Mm-hmm.
says, she's like, how many times did I stare out this window and see like Archie? And he's like,
Yeah.
thousands of times. You've
Yeah.
experienced this. And so yeah, Jughead kind of plays as this character who is able to kind of recall the things that have happened and comment on what she's experiencing. So he's like, yeah, like that's what you've been experiencing all this time. Then it cuts to Archie's room. He's getting ready for school, and he wants to be a builder. Apparently he has to get back to some guy who's
Mm.
about to like build a bunch of highways, like, you know, across America.
It's interesting because this is the only scene that ever veers away from Betty's POV. Like this is
Yes,
the
you're right.
only moment where like we literally crosses off and it's like Betty's Archie's scene with his mom explaining his life. And then
Right. And
after
she's
that everything is all from Betty's POV.
all from her perspective. And you're right, because and it's interesting that you mentioned that, because she says it later in their final scene together as Barchie. She's like, your mom was right. So I'm
Yeah.
like, so she was listening.
Like
Somehow
you
she
heard?
heard that conversation, which is anyway, whatever. I'm not gonna come on,
No,
come
because she
on the
knows
writers at
already
this
what he did. She knows because like she lived it.
True, 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 true.
So my question also
But
was
she
like,
doesn't know what Mary would have said. But anyways, it
true,
doesn't.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
But
doesn't
also
matter.
like, why did she not remember everything? Like there were so many things that like she forgot. Does she have like
I
dementia
mean,
or
I mean,
something?
I think that like at 84, she's on her deathbed. She's
True.
probably not going to remember
True, true,
everything.
true.
So she's probably like, especially that specific day, like what happened on
Yeah.
that day, how her senior.
No,
I
because she
don't
was
know.
asking Jughead like, "How did he die?" And he's like, "Well, I'll tell you. Hold on." And
Right,
she
right,
doesn't
right.
remember like how they
I
died.
mean, I think it's mostly for us. So
Okay, but like, come
we know what's going
on.
on. She's also dying. Leave
You
her
could have been
alone.
like, "Oh, that was so sad when he died this way." Like she
Yeah.
was always asking him, like, "Girl, don't you remember anything?"
I mean, I think she knew a few things by the end of it. She was like, "This
She
is what
did.
happens to you in your life. Goodbye. I love you."
She did.
You know. Uh, so anyway, it turns out that he wants to be he wants to build highways for the summer, and his mom's like, as soon as you get to the West Coast, you're gonna fall in love. You're with the Pacific Ocean. You're
Just
never
like
gonna
your
want to come back.
daddy.
Just like your papa. And he's like, Mom, obviously I would come out to Riverdale. Are you crazy? And she's like, well, either way, you have my blessing. Go out and do your thing. Then that's when we get the first kind of like forward, like like the fate of, and that's kind of consistent for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Betty gets to ask the question, like, whatever happened to Mary, Miss
Yeah.
Andrews?
Yeah.
So then you find out that I think that summer or whatever, a couple months
Yeah.
later, in her store, Mary meets like, I don't know, a customer, and they hit it off and they stay together
That's
until
it. She
the
moved
end.
right in. She moved
She
right
moved right
in.
in. She brought that U-Haul, and here we
She got
go.
them furs and the leathers and the
That is that. Congratulations, Mary Andrews, the lesbian queen of the
Riverdale.
entire series. Then it cuts to the Cooper residence, and you find out. So she hears her parent, or like her
Oh, I
mom,
thought this was
downstairs.
really like this part killed me.
I know, it was
This
so
part
sweet.
really killed me.
You find out that Alice is now a stewardess, because technically this is a year after last episode.
Last episode, yeah.
Right. So we're like kind of seeing what's happening now.
Yeah.
And Alice is now a stewardess. She divorced Hal. Shove it, Hal.
Shove it, Hal.
And Polly's back at home and she's pregnant with the
Mhm.
twins. She's like so excited to see them. It's kind of like a Christmas Carol moment, I want to call it. Like,
Yeah.
she's kind of like embodying, like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you guys for the first time in 84 years or whatever. And they're like,
However long.
okay,
I mean,
hi.
it seemed like she lost her mom pretty early.
Yeah.
So
I mean, maybe not. We don't really know how long of her life was, but like, anyway, she loses her along the way at some point.
yeah.
But then you find out all these things, and before we get to that part, she does have a really sweet moment with Alice where she just like embraces her, hugs her, and she's like, I love you so much. I'm so happy to see you again. Same with Polly. Like, it was really, I feel like that's all we really needed between
Bruh,
the
it's
Alice.
so hard. Like, imagine you haven't seen your mom in like 50
Yeah.
years, and then like you get this moment again, like, and
Yeah.
you see her young. Like,
Yeah.
I can't.
And she's like living her best life. Like, she's like off to like do so many great things.
Yeah.
And so she gives her hug. She says, I love you. And then we find out about Alice, and she was a stewardess for like a small, I think a little flight, Rochester. Like, it was a small flight that she was doing.
Yeah.
And the pilot at some point has a heart attack. So she has to help like land the plane somehow.
I was like,
like
girl,
magic.
I don't know if this is
Like,
possible. Like,
I'm like, oh shit, okay. So she lands the plane, and then one of the passengers who was on the plane that she helped save,
so random.
it was kind of random.
This story
takes her
just started
out.
like unraveling, and I'm like,
I know.
"Alright,
I was
just
like,
cut it,
okay,
guys. I get it.
She lived
She's the
happily ever
hero of
after.
her
Yeah.
story. I get it.
Like, why couldn't she just become a stewardess to live her best
Or
life?
like land a freaking plane, do that,
And then
But
she
has to
became
be like
a
a billionaire
pilot or
guy.
something. Yeah, like, I didn't understand. Anyway, he takes her out for dinner and travels around the world. with her, and she gets postcards sent to her all the time until like the postcards basically stop,
Sorry, can I
which I
just
thought
pause
was
right
really
here?
sweet as
I
well.
know
Yeah.
that really broke my heart. People here got really upset that there wasn't an FP reference or like a nod to like ending up with FP. But here's my take on it. This whole idea of Alice was about leaving Riverdale and like getting her independence and like living her own life. For her to go back to Riverdale and end up like with FP, like I just don't think it would have vibed with who Alice was meant to be in this universe. Like I
Right.
just wasn't feeling it for this universe. You know what I mean?
It wouldn't have made sense because then that means that FP still is Jughead's father, who is basically like
Yeah, and that too.
non-existent in this world,
Yeah.
and yeah, like
But also, like, it would have kept her in Riverdale. She would have been a serpent. Not that there's like, anything wrong with it, but like, her hopes were always to
would have
like
been
dream big, like go
yeah,
out to the world,
different
like land a
trajectory.
plane. Like she did that, you know.
Yeah, so
So yeah, I didn't hate it, you
I
know.
get it, but also like Skeet Ulrich was not coming back, so like
I
y'all
feel like Skeet
blame
was like,
him.
I'm
It's not
out,
his
and
fault. That's,
so
yeah,
you know, she's on to bigger and better things.
yeah, exactly. And then Polly has her twins. She has a happy, fulfilled life. I was kind of surprised that they didn't put Jason as her husband, because like they kind of
Because he
do a
was still in it.
yeah, he was in it at the very end.
Yeah,
But the slow zoom of her having this like fulfilled life, it's like
yeah.
another random guy like who was in the hospital room with the babies. Anyway, she
Oh,
has a happy life with her family. The end for Polly. So happy. Um then they go back to Riverdale High, and she's like, oh my god, she sees everybody for the first time. She's like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, am I dreaming? He's like, yeah, you kind of are. So
you're
she
almost
bumps she bumps into Veronica first, and she's like, oh V, like it's so good to see you. Then they walk into school together for the last time. Then Tony does the final announcement, and she shares a poem called Dreams by Langston Hughes. Really nice. Like
yeah.
everything made me cry.
Like
Basically, everything
very
was like,
like
yeah,
dream. If you don't dream, your life sucks. So
like
dream. I was like, it's so
dream or
cute.
you'll like die. Like the field is
Yeah.
like dead if you don't dream. Really cool, really sweet. And then she goes to get her yearbook signed by, or she goes to get her yearbook.
Yeah.
Cheryl is passing them out. She's like, Cheryl, can you sign my yearbook? Cheryl's like, ew, don't you have the
Typical,
bumps? Like, get out
yeah,
of
like
here.
typical Cheryl fashion. She's being all like crusty. She's like, ew,
Little
I gotta wait for
catty.
mail. That's
Yeah.
her.
And then yeah, they just have a little quick moment. She's like, "You're gonna see me later. We'll like, I'll do your yearbook later." It was cute.
I was like, well, just sign it now. I'm like, what is she gonna bring it to the club after? Like, she's gonna lug around her yearbook like at night? But
She's
like,
like, Cheryl's like, "No,
yeah, like
don't
I
come
ain't
to me."
signing it right now. There's a lineup behind you. But she was
Yeah,
like, Betty's face was so like, because Cheryl was being like crusty to her. Betty was just like,
she's like, "I love you. I
yeah,
miss
like I
you."
love you
Yeah,
and all your
she doesn't care.
crustiness and like who you
Yeah,
are. Like I just love you. Like it was
it
such a
was so
cute
sweet.
face. Like,
Oh my god, this moment killed. Okay, I cannot wait to talk about this.
oh my god.
Betty gets Fangs to sign her yearbook. Ooh. Okay, this is probably the first hole that I want to talk about.
The
He,
whole.
the
Okay.
whole hole
Okay.
is what I want to talk about. He's about to go on tour for the summer. He's like blowing up. He got like a gold record. He's like doing great. Him and Midge are together. They're like talking to Betty about everything. And then as soon as she hears about the summer tour, like right away, like she starts to like tear up. She's like,
Yeah.
the tour? Like you can tell that
Yeah, like
something
something
happens.
happened.
And then she says she remembers what happened. Apparently, a month into the tour, their bus like popped a tire and flew right off a fucking cliff,
Yeah.
and he died.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about this because
Why?
I'm okay.
Like, what does it matter? You know what I mean? Like,
It doesn't, of course, it doesn't matter. None of this
yeah.
matters. None of this
Because he's
matters.
just like, yeah.
However, if you want to talk about the way that this whole season built up, we got so much
Yeah, that's what I don't get
storyline.
it. Yeah.
So much storyline from Fangs and Midge, and this beautiful, like, fine, by the end of it, oh, they're finally together. He finally did make a career, and da 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 da. And then he just dies tragically in a fucking, like, they couldn't even say that he had some career and then he like No, he like flew
Well,
off of a fucking
not
cliff by
to
the end
not
of it
to be
all.
standing up for Fangs, because you know me, but the way that Jughead talked about him after, like he was like his music inspired so many people, and like his words and his songs like
Sure.
helped whatever. So I tried to take that from it, but no, I'm on your side. Like I don't understand this fucking sorry focus on fucking Fangs and
Yeah.
Midge. Like I don't
Yeah.
get it. Where did they come from? Like who was
I
he?
just
He must have been like someone's best friend on set, because like I don't understand why they kept Fangs on so hard since like the Serpent storyline.
I honestly don't know what it is, but at the same time, I just wish that they could have just easily. They give almost everybody a happy ending except for Fangs, and I was
No, but
like,
like
just
it's
let
gonna
them go off and be
happen.
happy.
I
Who
know, but like it's gonna
cares?
happen. And like the way they like did the crosses off, I was like dying.
Oh my god! And then no, like the little the full face on the side while he's like
Yeah.
singing. I'm like,
He's like,
bro, relax. We don't need any of that. Why can't you just give him a happy ending and be done with it? Like anyway, I just thought that like
it
with
was
all the build
yeah,
up, it wasn't
like
necessary to kill
nothing
him off. Like
crucial
who
happened
cares?
with their child or like with
Yeah,
Midge. Like
nothing.
and I don't know what it is, and I'm sure people can like agree with this. I don't know why we never got attached to their storyline. We really didn't give a fuck. Like we really didn't.
I mean, some people might have been like, it's cute to see them together. By the end of it, it was like, okay, fine, I'll like jump on board. But it was the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, he wasn't
But then to lead up to
progressing.
this, to jumping off a cliff, like what was the point?
Yeah, I know.
Like they could have just easily written it and been like, oh, it was a beautiful love story at the end. Happy, everybody happy.
But not everything's happy. Not everything's gonna be happy.
They could have
ending.
chosen that. They could have chosen a million other things. They didn't have to give it to Fangs, who already barely had us,
Yeah,
barely had us
yeah,
caring at all. You know.
yeah,
Anyway, whatever.
yeah.
So then it cuts to Kevin asking Betty to come out for lunch, and she's like, "Yeah, absolutely, I'd love to." And then he signs her book, and Clay signs her book, and you find out that they're both going to New York and to become roomies while they both study at school.
He was like, "Where I'm studying like literature, and he's studying like over there." So we figured we were just room together. I'm like, "No, you figured you'd room together because you're banging, not
Yeah,
because
your
you're
boyfriend.
studying in the same town."
Yeah, and like he even says, he's like, yeah, our parents are totally cool with it. Like we kind of like told them, but
Yeah.
they said like be safe, and they're like, yeah, totally fine, all good. Um, it was cute. I mean, listen, Kevin got his storyline. He's happy
He
with
did.
Clay.
He really did.
Beautiful moment with
And
them.
I don't know what it was that was so different with Kevin and Fangs and Kevin and Clay, but I loved Kevin and Clay.
Oh
And I
yeah,
wish, and even Betty was like, I wish I got to know you more, like in that scene to Clay. And I'm like, me too. Like
same girl.
I wish he
Yeah.
was in the freaking beginning, you know?
You
Like
switch him out with Fangs, and it would have been a really good
yeah,
show. Yeah,
like I really
absolutely.
did really love Clay's character. Like he really
sure.
did the most this season.
Yeah,
What I was gonna say was I wish, just for my own like thing, that first episode, the pilot,
yeah.
Kevin and Betty go for lunch in that backyard like area at their school on campus, and then
Mhm.
Veronica comes. But it was first like Kevin and Betty. I wish, just for the sake of like nostalgia, they filmed that last scene in that same
There.
park, in that same area.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool. But I think there was like a set, so they just kept it.
Different, yeah, probably
Yeah.
different location change at
Yeah.
that point, because that was a pilot too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. So anyway, you find out that Clay becomes a professor, and Kevin starts an off-Broadway theater company, and they have like a happy life together.
Yeah.
In New York, you find out from Jughead, and I was actually happy that they had a happy ending, because honestly,
Same.
you'd think that if we were to take the example of Fangs, that Kevin of all people would have a tragic ending. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they live through the AIDS crisis. They live through like a
Yeah.
bunch of crazy shit, especially like in the heart of New York City. They live through Stonewall. Like, so there's a lot of different things that they could have brought up that could have put them into danger,
Yeah.
as two gay men living in New York. So I'm glad that like we didn't get that
Same.
fatal sad story, like Kevin was out walking and got like beaten by a bunch of homophobes, and you know, because that shit was real.
And New
like,
York was bad. New York
that's
went
what
through
I'm
like
saying,
a
yeah.
bad time. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's very true.
So anyway, happy that they got
Very
to live
good,
their best lives, and you know, like Clay died at a park at 84 or something like that.
Yeah, and
like
feeding pigeons.
then he fell asleep, and then that was it. But then we all learned that she has been a part of a quad with Jughead and Veronica
Okay,
and Archie for
we
the
gotta talk
whole
about this.
year. We
So
got to talk about the quad.
we gotta talk
We
about the
got to talk
quad
about the
because
quad.
I think everyone's waiting for us to talk about it. So
Yes.
they introduce it by saying like, "And what about you, Betty? What's going on with you?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "What?" Like even she
Yes.
doesn't know. I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Yeah.
And then they're
Let's
like,
talk.
"Your people over there."
Yeah. And then they're all like waving at
They're
each
like
other very
waving, and she's
weirdly.
like,
She's like, "Hi." We'll talk about it in once. Well, anyway, it doesn't really matter because the scene didn't even really make a difference. Apparently, according to NB, there was a like director's cut that was released on Netflix, and then the one that was aired. This was one of the scenes that was cut for obvious. Like now that I'm watching it back, like for obvious reasons. Betty goes to the bathroom. She bumps into Cheryl. And Betty's like feeling herself because she's like, ooh, I had like quite a year. Like, I'm just like remembering the times that I
"Yeah."
had
She's like
this past year.
horrified.
She's like feeling herself. And then Cheryl's like, okay, weirdo, bye. So a very quick scene. Then it cuts to Reggie in the gym.
So
And
cute.
this is when she tells him about the quad and explains it basically to the audience how it all kind of went
And to
down.
Reggie, because Reggie's like FOMO. He's like, "You should."
Yeah.
So
Reggie's
okay,
like,
let's talk about this, right?
yeah, let's
So
talk about it. Let's talk about it.
So I don't get it. I think it's freaking weird. And one of the reasons why, like, I just don't get it is like because we saw their last high school year, there was no like intermingling with. I mean, I guess there was, but like Jughead and Archie were non-existent friends in that last sort of year, right?
Like you're talking about like now
Like
that
this
I'm in the
season, but like
50s.
last year. Yeah. Like
Sure.
in their grade 11 year, let's say.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
they weren't even, they were barely friends. They barely spoke to each other. It was always like Archie and Reggie. So I don't understand why it's considered still this core four dynamic because like Jughead wasn't really friends with Archie.
But they were both like hooking up with Veronica. So like that's
Yeah.
where that connection comes in. And
Yeah.
also she does explain it really well. I mean, as well as she could, considering that it's really because of the information that they learned from Angel Tabitha, from the
Mm.
fact that they've had past lives with one another in different ways. And so they wanted to explore that in this time period,
I
but
just,
still not break up what they had created in this time period with one another, right? So
I guess you're like now that you're explaining it, like it makes a bit more sense. But like
yeah,
the fact that it was all at the same time, like she's like, some nights I'd go here, some nights I'd go there. So like that felt weird to me. I was
right.
like, this is weird, and because ultimately I know why they did this. It's
They
because they
want all the
fucking tried to
ships.
play it safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they played it safe. They can't fucking own anything that they do. They can't take one road. I'm not even telling you to take one road. But like to be like, oh, we're all
They
good.
should have.
Everyone's like covered. We're all good. Like you're
See,
so weak. Like
yeah, to your point, I feel like they were trying to appease every single ship, and like every ship is going to be happy. I think that what they did was they walked away with no ship really
nothing.
being happy.
There
Like I
was
don't
no
think any ship is going to
impact.
feel happy with the way that they ended things, and I think that's an unfortunate choice that they made,
Yeah.
because why even bother with everything that we've seen and everything that we've experienced? I personally would have wanted to see a final destination for at least one of the pairings, and we'll talk about it later when we
Yeah,
get to the
that's
final,
true.
that final piece. But I think that I thought it was really cute. My take on it is the quad made sense to me. They all want to explore with each other. They have all their memories back, blah 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 blah. The one thing that I want to remember in this moment when we get to the final moment is she literally says like, we all like lived, actually that happens a little bit later, but like the fact that they like lived lives together,
Yeah.
like they did like two high schools together.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
lived
yeah.
all
Like
the,
over
they have
universes and
like over
yeah.
universes and over timelines. They have so much history with one another that their bond is like this, like so tight. So we'll keep that there. We'll pin that there because we'll talk about what happens later.
But hold
But
on. I also in the episode, does Archie ever talk about the quad?
mm-mm.
Does
No one else
Veronica
talk.
ever talk? Okay, so see,
Veronica kind of talks about it. Well, they do kind of refer to the fact that they all had fun, like they
yeah,
all
yeah.
experienced like the physical and emotional later. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a little bit. We'll get back to it, but is there anything else that you wanted to add
No, because it was just like
in this
interesting that it
moment?
was coming from her like perspective.
Yeah, yeah,
And like if they sold it to me better, like even throughout the season, if like that concept was like in play,
yeah.
Like
I
Reggie
just
and Archie had a threesome, and like he's not gonna include
he
him in
wasn't
the.
even involved. I know
You
that.
know what I mean?
I
Like,
will say that they should have had Reggie. Like, it's unfortunate that they used Reggie as a means to explain to the audience what the quad was,
yeah,
because
that
I
felt
feel like
very
Reggie.
weird
I
too.
felt it was a little cheap because like they could have given that story to Dilton, and Reggie could have still been a part of it. Like
Yeah,
sometimes Reggie, you know what I mean? Like sometimes Reggie came
yeah,
along because you're right, he was kind of involved, and also the unfortunate truth is he had history with Veronica. So like in other worlds,
yeah,
in other timelines. So you're telling me that they never
yeah. Like,
re-explored that in
yeah,
high school? Like that I call bullshit. Like
yeah.
if I found out that my partner like in another timeline we hooked up all the time, doesn't matter if we like did well or didn't do well, like let's go have sex now, we're like
Especially if he
kids
looks like
again.
Charles Melton. But like,
Are you kidding me?
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
there were just like little holes that I just didn't get.
They didn't have
Um,
to give it to Reggie. I feel like Reggie kind of got left out, not gonna lie. It was unfortunate, and it wasn't fair. I didn't think it was fair. There was no
but I
reason
just
for
felt
him
like
to
that
be left out.
conversation between Betty and Reggie was so random too. Like they would never have that conversation. Like
Well, that's
he would go to Archie and say that. He'd be like, "Yo, man, you should have like included me in this thing." Like he's not gonna go to Betty and say
I mean,
that.
she's the one that's experiencing it, so we have
Yeah,
to
I
hear it
know.
from
Yeah,
her.
yeah, I
But
know. I know
yeah, no,
why, but
I
I'm just like
get,
asking, like,
yeah,
why?
I get that. I get it makes sense, and it was cute that because from the beginning of the season, he was kind of like hitting on her. He was interested in her, and she never really like made it work out with them. And we were always like, why didn't Reggie and
Yeah,
Betty
yeah.
ever like even try? Like it never worked out. And I guess now we know that that's
Having
just
said
didn't work out.
that, I really did miss Veggie this season. Like, I really did expect a little bit more from Veggie, and like we got like a little
Yeah,
sprinkle of that, but
that
then it
wasn't
just like
even.
disappeared because like they
They
did
didn't even
have
get a
really good
kiss.
chemistry. I wonder if it had something to do with their real life like drama. Like maybe they just didn't really want to combine those two actors together. I don't know, but I do feel like we could have had more Veggie this season overall.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that for
Yeah.
sure. Even like I said, even if they give this to Dilton, like she's like Simon Yearbook Dilton, by the way, where there's a quad, sometimes
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like sometimes Reggie's involved, then that would have been a cute little way
Yeah,
to
that's true.
bring Veggie into it. Like we all have history with each other, whatever.
Yeah.
Because Dilton was also one of the people that got to watch it, right? Like he got to watch the history as well.
Did
Like
he? Yeah, I
yeah,
think
he
he
was
did.
sitting
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Listen, anyway, they should have given it to him. Is all I'm
Yeah.
saying. Um, then she learns about Reggie's life. He gets drafted by the Lakers eventually. Go Reggie. And then later on, when his parents die, he takes over like the farm, and then he coaches at Riverdale High. He has two sons. Like cute,
So
beautiful
cute. And then
story.
he gets like buried at Duck Creek. Like it was so cute.
Yeah, it was really, really sweet. Um, and then uh we get to the Babylonium, and Veronica tells Betty she's heading to the La La Land, the City of Angels. And this was really like I don't know. This broke my heart. This whole
First of all, Camila Mendez's eyes were like you could
watering from the
tell like she
beginning.
was having such a hard time filming these scenes.
Yeah.
And that was a hard part too, was like getting through it and but hearing their voices crack was like killing me too, you know?
Yeah.
Like I could
Yeah.
tell that they were crying.
So this is the first time that I think things start feeling a little off to me. And I
Okay.
think it's just because it's not what I wanted it to happen,
What did you
basically.
want to happen?
I just wanted everybody to live happily ever after and be happy with each other. And and listen, because I have a rebuttal for what everyone would probably be saying to that specific sentiment. But Veronica does say, no matter where we are in the world, we're always going to be in each other's lives. And then she kind of pans out to the front of the Babylonium, and it's her handprints, and it says like,
Mhm.
she signs it Veronica Lodge or whatever. And Betty says she's like, I regret not visiting her as much.
Mhm.
I only got to see her in a couple premieres, but she was like such a go-getter, and apparently she had like such a sick life in LA.
She won Oscars
She won
and
Oscars. She was like production manager or whatever. She ran her own production studio, blah blah blah. And Betty starts to regret that lack of connection and the fact that she didn't keep in touch with any of them. And then Jughead goes on to say like, this today is all about remembering and having no regrets.
Mhm.
And what I will say about this is because she is the first one of the core four that we find out like what her like final fate
Future.
is. Like
Yeah.
she doesn't get married to Archie, she doesn't get married to Jughead. Like there's no connection. She just like lives and dies
Yeah.
in LA.
Yeah.
And then I also got really sad about the fact that Betty didn't stay in contact with her. Why
Yeah.
couldn't they just give us a
Cause
line that
I
says
I'll
we all got together at the end? And I know that the sentiment is that's just not how life is. People are in high school. Like life just doesn't go that way sometimes. You're telling me in the and I'm only going to say this once. You're telling me in the final episode of Riverdale they want to root reality in this episode, this final episode, you want to tell me about sentimentality and
that is a
like
fucking
it's
good
all
point,
like
JLAG.
you know what I mean? Like we went to different multiverses. We like did
Yeah.
this. There was superpowers. There's all these things, and you're gonna tell me that now you're like, no, 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 but that's not realistic. Like go fuck yourself. I want to fucking enjoy my characters and let them have happy lives with each other. Like come on, just say that you
Oh my
traveled to LA
God.
every other month and like saw her every single day. Like it was great. And then when FaceTime was invented, you guys like all had a good
You
time
were,
with each
yeah.
other. Like,
Oh
how are
my
you gonna give
God.
me some tragedy right now? Like, you guys were best friends in high school, and you're telling me that, like, oh, but we just drifted. Like, that's just like how life is. Bitch, go fuck yourself. That is not how you were rooting your realities when there was a tree monster flying around
A
and
hundred thousand
like, don't,
percent.
please don't play me like
Like, do
that.
not
Please
bring
don't.
reality into now. We
The
got 30 minutes left in this goddamn episode. Now you're gonna bring in reality?
That's
Really?
tea. That's tea.
No, that's so funny. But
You
I
know what I
will
mean?
say I did
I get what they were
appreciate,
trying to
yeah, like, and I
say,
do
but
appreciate that because that can happen.
of
But
course,
what they
absolutely, I get
maybe
it.
should have done was like It's a Wonderful Life sort of like take where like she could right all the wrongs, or like she could go back and like
Oh, that would have
spend
been
the rest of her
better.
life with her best friend, like make sure she goes out and like lives like and like spends time
Yeah.
with her in LA. Like that would have been kind of cool because like she could have flipped it and been like, no, but I did it. Like we still kept in
We
touch
did
and
have
stuff
a
like
good
that.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just I
But
felt that this was kind of like one
maybe
of the
that's their
moments.
thing to us. Like maybe this is their way of like teaching the next generation, like hold on to those relationships, hold on to those memories, like hold on to those moments. They are so like fleeting, and like those relationships will last you a
Remember them and
lifetime. Like
enjoy
remember them
them.
and like don't
Yeah,
like forget them. Maybe that's like their mess. They want to give that message maybe to the audience. But
yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
just
I get it.
anyway. I
I get
just
it.
the one
It,
time we
it
don't care about reality. Fuck.
Yeah, and that's why like I also
Mhm.
didn't have an issue with like no one ending up together, like the ships kind of just parting ways, because like it's true. Like who marries their high school boyfriend or girlfriend? Like
And we're gonna get to that.
you know?
Let's
So
get
I
to
didn't
that.
have an issue with that.
I
Yeah.
still have issue with that shit.
Oh
Even outside of
shit.
what I just said.
Oh shit.
Anyway, let's get to it. It's the next scene. So then it cuts to the dark room, and Cheryl and Tony are hosting like some art exhibit. She's like, everything that we do is amazing because we're like a lesbian power couple, blah blah blah. And then you find out that Cheryl has a great career as a painter, obviously,
Hmm.
and she ends up moving out west with Tony, where they live their like artist, like protest lifestyle. They end up having a child named Dale,
Oh,
named after Riverdale, but that's actually
her
Vanessa Morgan's
son.
son, River, which is I thought was cute that like they named him Dale in the show, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in
And
real life his name
apparently,
is
like
River.
at the beginning, she was saying that like she didn't name him River because of the show,
She just named
and
him
everyone's like,
River.
"Bruh, like you named him because of
Like
the show." Like,
what a coincidence. Yeah, 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 no,
yeah,
but it's cute.
it
Anyway,
was
I just
so cute. It was such a cute
yes,
scene. It
what
made
a
me
beautiful
so
child too. So, yeah.
happy. Ugh.
So nice. Anyway, they end up having a kid. What a beautiful scene. Um
Shout
sad
out to
story about
Shoni. Shout out to Shoni.
shout out to Shoni.
Bruh, in
They had a
every
great run.
universe, in every timeline, in every decade, century, whatever,
Yeah.
they end up together. Like they are
Yeah.
it for me. They are that's it. They won at life. They won at Riverdale.
They won the ship like whatever
Yeah.
battle if you want to look at it that
100%.
way.
If you
They're
want
the
to
only
call it
ones that
that, it's what it is.
yeah, they
Yeah.
won the whole thing.
Yeah.
We do learn that Julian unfortunately does live this like sad lost life,
Yeah.
and he ends up dying at 28 in the Vietnam War, which was like,
Yeah.
ooh, okay, sorry about that. You find out that Nana gets reincarnated like multiple times, which I thought was a really cute way to like send off this icon of a woman.
Icon.
Literally who's been like she's been around since like at least
From
season
the
2.
beginning.
From the beginning, this woman, and like big ups to her, the
I
actress.
love
Like
her.
He's like, she held on all the way
She
to the end.
did.
I appreciate her so
She
much.
put that fake eye in her
She
thing
did the
every
damn
single
thing.
day.
Love her. You find out randomly that Principal Weatherby and Miss Thornberry get married. I was like, go
Oh, I
get
missed that. I
it. But
was
it
like,
was so
okay,
random. Okay, good for
cute.
you guys. Then another, not, not the scene.
Can't even talk.
I can't even speak. Frank and Tom. It cuts to
Oh
Frank and Tom. What's
yeah.
gonna happen to Frank and Tom? They get killed by a hustler. And it's Chick. Chick kills them. What the
You know
actual
what?
F?
Serves him right for being the
Yeah,
worst sheriff in town.
bro, Karma's a
Worst.
bitch. Karma's a bitch, and his
Worst.
name is Chick. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That is, I just thought it was
Was it
so.
actually Chick? Like, did they show the actor?
No, well, they said it.
Oh,
His name is
okay.
Chick,
Okay,
so
okay.
I'm assuming that it's like Chick in this world
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we never really like find out. But I don't know what they were trying to like. Honestly, I
I
don't know
don't
what they were trying to do
know.
with this. I don't know if they wanted to just be like,
Just be
and then they
funny,
got killed
maybe.
by a hustler
Yeah.
named Chick. Wink, Chick. Wink. I'm like, they do know because they watched the show. Like they
Yeah.
already watched it, so they know that it was Chick from another universe who came and killed them. But also, you think that even though Frank is a shitty guy, even though Tom is a shitty guy, that it wouldn't like have like totally like spiraled Kevin and like spiraled Archie. Like my uncle was
Yeah,
murdered.
yeah.
My dad was murdered.
Yeah. Oh my
Like
God, true.
that's a bit of a stain that we don't get to talk about when like people are getting killed
Again,
left, right,
it
and
just
center in the show.
if they had ended the episode and never mentioned Frank
I wouldn't have
I would have
cared.
been and I would have cared. Like
I
last
wouldn't
week's
care.
episode, that scene was funny enough. Just ended
Yeah.
off of that. Like I didn't need to know what their ending is.
You
Like
know what it was? I think that there's a lot of people who really, really, really hated them, which rightly so. Like they had
true, because
such
like what they
crappy
did.
characters.
Yeah.
So the fact that they get murdered by Chick is probably like a way of like the writers being like,
Like
okay,
they got
guys.
their thing. Yeah,
But
yeah.
they got gay at the end, so I was down for I was down
That's
for
what I'm
them getting
saying.
gay at
Like
the end. It's just let them live their gay life together.
literally.
Anyway, whatever. At least it's them and not Clay and Kevin. So like it's all
Yeah.
good. Like
Yeah.
let them die in Fox Forest for all I care. Um then we get to this final like scene at the dark room. Jughead and Betty spot Archie, Veronica, and Jughead sitting in the corner, and they look really sad. And Jughead says like, "Oh, they're learning about LA. Like you should go talk to them." So then they talk, and Betty basically is there to kind of like soften the blow because everybody's all upset about it. And they're like, she basically says like, we had such a great life with each other. We love each other. Let's not get sad about this. We literally got to like live like double lives with each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Um, and this is the moment that I was holding on to. When we get to the end fates of the rest of the characters that we don't really know what happens to them just yet. Because when she says we got to love each other across multiple timelines, we went through high school together multiple times, like they do refer to them. They don't act as if they never happened. If that was the
Yeah.
case, I'd be like, okay, high school sweethearts, blah blah blah, all that shit. You guys literally lived multiple lives with each other. Even the flash forward season, like years later, got back together. Like Betty and Archie, at the very least,
Yeah.
had that to hold on to. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe not Veronica and Jughead, but them two, they
But that was a
did.
different lifetime, right? Like technically.
Technically a different lifetime, but that was still a timeline where they were going to get together. They were
Yeah.
going to get married and get pregnant, and
Yeah.
well, they were thinking of it, whatever.
Yeah.
So anyways, so there's that whole situation. I'll leave the rest of what I have to say about that for that scene. But is there anything else that you wanted to talk about in here?
No.
Just so the final thing is Archie says we're gonna do like one last ride in the hot rod together, and then they do this like sad like ride home.
Drive, yeah.
I personally wish that they got pulled back the song from like that first episode.
Tell me. I was waiting for that
I'm
song.
your
I was like, I need to either end off
baby.
with this song or
Yeah.
at some point. You're so right. Like it needed to
Yeah.
happen. They needed to pay
I
for
know it
it
was
and use it
I know it was
again.
in last episode, but
True.
I still would have wanted to see it for this, especially for
Yeah.
like the hot rod scene. Like they're showing like the trees and them
Yeah.
driving. It would have been a nice. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's all good. Um.
They did play the Bughead song for like a little bit. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, I didn't even know they had a song. What was their song?
That little like jingle, like
They had a
now I can't think of
Bughead
it because
jingle.
the other one's in my head. It's like, anyways, you know what it is if
Tell
you
me.
hear it. You know what? They have like a little jingle, but and it's like and so in one of the scenes they did play it. I heard it, so I thought that was
With when
cute.
it's like a Buckhead scene, it's
Yeah,
cute.
yeah.
Okay, so then it cuts to Cheryl's party, and Betty doesn't want to go in. She's like feeling upset about it. She doesn't want to say goodbye. She's like, this is the last time we're gonna see each other. And Jughead says a really nice line, like it's really poignant, really, really like great writing in this moment. He says like, but that's life. Like you just have to kind of like walk into it.
Yeah.
Like there's a beginning, there's an end to it. Like that is just how life is. And so anyway, she goes in and Archie reads a poem to all of his friends. This was a really funny moment.
This was one of the best moments of the series, I would say.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. They
Yeah.
were making fun of themselves 100%.
For
like
sure.
I died. And I just felt like we were watching the actors like sitting on set and just talking and like it was the actors.
A part of me wants to know, like, did they get Archie to like co-write this with the writers?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, or did they maybe like leave this blank so none of the other actors knew what they were like talking, like what they were going to be said about them?
That's really cool.
Because I agree with you. It did feel like they were reacting in a way that was like at one point Reggie's like crying, and I'm like, you didn't have to cry about it, but it was funny. So like I'm wondering like how that like exchange happened. Because also that poem, considering he was like award winning at this point, was
it was like
Dr. Seuss.
What your kid writes in like grade 3, like my mommy is the best.
Roses are red, violets are blue.
Like it was like that. I was like, Archie, maybe you should rethink right now what you're gonna be doing next year.
Maybe you should stick to the roads.
But it was so funny. He like makes fun of like Kevin going to Fox Forest and how he should be singing in a chorus. And like there was like the Veronica, the dialysis machine. Like he made fun of so many things.
Reggie having a double, like
having a double. He's like, is it even you? And then Reggie's like, bro, don't talk about that. Like I'm so like sensitive about that. I thought it was just such a good moment in between me crying for like freaking 58 minutes. And I was like, okay, like I can take a break and start laughing. But what people were saying, and I kind of did think like, oh wait, like didn't they ask for all their bad memories to get like erased? So like, how would they remember like the dialysis machine and like all those negative things?
Well, that's she even says, she's like, I specifically asked like Angel, Tabitha to erase the dialysis storyline. Like, why would you do that? But you have to remember that there were some good things in those superpower storylines. So like maybe it wasn't everything.
Yeah. No, but you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's true. Like here we are talking about all the crazy bad moments, and like last week you guys asked for them all to be gone. So
yeah, exactly.
Maybe you should have listened to me when I said you gotta remember the bad to love the good. Okay.
And just leave it at that. Exactly. There was no reason to give them a choice.
Yeah. But it was such a cute scene. Like I loved it.
Such a cute scene. Really, really like it felt very real. Like, I'll say that.
And like KJ was just
being KJ. Like it was just really cute to see them all kind of interact with each other.
This episode must have been so hard for them to film. Like
absolutely.
I can't even imagine like everything that they're like, this is the last time we'll be here. And it cut to Kevin, and he was like, his eyes were like red. I was like, oh
yeah. That's what I mean. Like everybody's kind of probably just like going through their own emotions. Maybe this was like one of the final scenes that they shot.
I think they shot this in order because I know that last scene at Pops was like the last scene ever.
Really?
Yeah. Like they ended it after that Pop scene. Yeah.
That's strong. That's so sad.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. Super sweet moment. Really funny. Then it cuts to oh shoot, sorry. Yes. Then you Where am I? I'm totally lost
Then
now.
you get lost in your
Oh yeah,
notes.
I
Tell
know all
me.
these years. Um, so then he reads a poem. We're all friends. We're gonna be best friends forever and ever. The end. And then, as everyone's leaving the party, Barchie has their, I guess, final scene
Huge,
ever.
a huge moment. Like truly,
Huge,
like when I rewatched it, I
massive.
was like, Jesus, like I missed this moment. Like not that I missed it,
Yeah,
but like I didn't take in like the
the
magnitude
gravity of
of
it.
this
Yeah,
scene because truthfully, like if someone wants to nitpick, like they can maybe say that Barchi was the strongest one to come out of this, aside from Shoni, obviously, because they did kind of have this moment. Now, having said
yeah,
that, even though Betty was like, "Nah, like I think we're good," um, Archie was like pushing it, like,
yeah. So he does. He says like, I'm sure this isn't goodbye. I'm sure we'll see each other again, and who knows? Maybe like we'll end up together. I'm the boy next door. You're the
he
girl
was
next
like
door.
he was like on it. He's like, no, but like we do end up together. It's always been you and me from the start. Remember? She's
Right.
like, okay, but like no.
And what she says exactly is like that is a really nice sentiment. As soon as she said that, I was like, oh no, they don't end up
Yeah.
together at the end. I got
He's
so
like,
sad.
I'm gonna tell you what happens.
And
Go to
then you find out like,
California.
yeah, she goes to California, he goes to California, he meets a girl, he
She's like,
has
you're
a
gonna knock some
family.
girl up. You're gonna have a beautiful She was like dictating his whole life. He's like, uh-huh. And then what? And
And then
then
what
what?
happens? Yeah. So yeah, you do find out that he doesn't end up with Betty. And I think this is one of the saddest things that ended this whole show for me because I know it's not about relationships and I know it's not about high school sweethearts. But like I said, even what they said like a few scenes ago, when Betty's basically saying, like, we literally lived multiple lifetimes together. You have seen me, we've experienced each other in new ways. And even with that, being forever bonded with those people, it's not like, oh, we were just high school sweethearts. You guys literally lived lives with each other.
Yeah.
So you're telling me after high school, you guys just decided, okay, we're just not gonna, we're, we didn't match. Like even 7 years later, season six, was it season six when we got the flash forward?
Yeah.
All of season six and all, I think season five too, all of that relationship building, all of that growth that they had, all of which they would have watched at this point in time in the show, meant nothing. Like it didn't mean enough for him to come back to her. Like
Look,
that would have been such an iconic, beautiful love story that despite it all,
I guess,
and
but
she remembers everything. Take that, and she remembers everything. Like he only remembers the good moments. So he's like, "Yeah, Betty, you're my girl." She remembers the hard moments, the good
yeah, that's
moments, the
true.
sad moments, the beautiful moments. And I'm just like, Betty, how did you not be like, I want to be with this man.
But
This is
like
my man. But the only argument against that, I will say, is even in the flash forward, she was by the end of it like not 100% sure of where her life was because she was so traumatized by her like life being an
now that
FBI agent and getting kidnapped and all that stuff.
yeah.
But
No, I mean, look, at the end of the day, now that I see it from where we are, do I think Betty and Archie end up together? I don't. Like I don't.
I don't know.
I
I
think you're always
disagree.
gonna be the boy next door, 100%. But like I do think their paths like just went other way. I That's how life goes usually. And I just don't I never really saw them like coming back like in the end. I don't know. I bought it. I really did buy it. I
And
wasn't like sad that they didn't end up together, you
But
know?
and this is and one thing I will also say, and I would like to hear from maybe if a few veggie, not veggie, some Varchie fans if they're listening on the pod. One of the things that broke them up in the like past is Archie was always going to be a Riverdale boy. He never wanted
Yes.
to
Yes.
travel. Riverdale is his home. He wants to make sure this town is the thing. Maybe one thing that we never even really solidified, by the way, and I wanted to talk to you about it before this episode aired, but um, you never find out who the mayor of fucking Riverdale is at this point
Oh
in time.
yeah. I
No
guess we
one is the
never I
mayor.
guess
Like
they
what?
never needed a mayor.
Just
Did
forget
you
about
really
the
need a
town.
mayor?
I mean, we know what happened in the flash forward, and Hiram became the mayor, and the whole world
Yeah.
went to shit. So, like, yeah, they do need a fucking mayor, but that's what I mean. I feel like that storyline in the lead up to like Archie becoming the mayor and like really taking care of his town. This is like where he's from, and I feel like the idea that they all kind of fall away again goes back to the fact that they like decided in this final episode that they wanted to be like realistic and like that's just not the way things are. But I'm like, we're talking about comic book characters.
You're
We're in
you're you're very
Riverdale.
you're very
I
right. Like
just feel
that's a
like
very true take
in
on
this
all of this.
universe,
Yeah.
why couldn't they have just let him stay in
So you would have
Riverdale?
been Barchie then? You would have chosen Betty and
One
Archie.
million percent. And I still am a Barchie like shipper for this. Like I really wish that they kept them together. And
Yeah.
in my mind, that is what happens. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah, you can
re- just
what
rewrite
I
your
would
own
have
fantasy,
really
y'all.
liked, yeah, what I would have really liked, and I love movies, and we've talked about this, like we love movies that have these open endings that are
Yes.
left sort of to interpretation of
Right.
the viewer. And I just would have loved if like they had done a really smart way of wrapping it and teasing it, and then everyone's left with their own, like Barchie's left with their own interpretation, Barchie's left with their own, like
Yeah,
everyone's
that would have
like,
been
but no, I saw that
cool.
wink, like I know that that meant that.
Yeah,
And then you could have just left it like that, like, with that
for
sort of air
sure.
of mystery a little bit.
Yes. This was so final. This was like, no,
Yeah.
you live in dying California and you meet some other random girl and she's basically like me, but like not me. You're thinking
Yeah.
me you're that's what I mean. You're telling me that over all the years he doesn't think about Betty and be like, we had multiple lifetimes together. Like,
And
I
that's
miss that
why
girl.
And
What, are you
that's
kidding
why
me?
I know. And everyone's thinking that that girl that he met like was Betty. I'm like, I don't know, guys.
No, that's
Like,
like no, that's
but
not what they said.
I
It's
know.
a lie. It's
And
a
that's
lie.
why, like, truthfully, like, if I wrote this series finale, I don't think I would have written it from the perspective of like Betty as an 85-year-old. I think I would have just continued it and ended it off. And every viewer can have their own hope and thing for like these
Yeah.
characters. Because you're right, it was so final for she's like, I'm the last one alive. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, now she's gonna die
Everyone's
too.
dead.
Like everyone's
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is how we're ending it. So I get what they did, but I think if I could have, I think I would have just done it a little bit differently. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be so final. Like, why are you have to
Yeah.
like finish it off for everyone?
Be so like
But
sure about it all.
here we
Yeah.
are.
Or it could have been really, really nice. Anyway,
Because
whatever.
I do love the ending. Do you know what I mean? Like the ending
Yeah.
killed me,
Yeah, yeah,
and this
yeah.
idea of the sweet hereafter, and like, but then I was like. Today I was like driving home and I'm like dying of laughter. I'm like, this bitch's idea of heaven is like going to her old town with all her high school friends.
All her high school friends. Yeah, that's her sweet hereafter. And I'm like, they all ended up there at the end,
Like,
and like not with their partners
Veronica?
and not with like
Veronica,
not,
you
Archie did Archie decided not to go with his wife and his
Yeah,
kids.
so I'm
Like,
saying, where are your kids? Veronica
please.
won Oscars and shit. She's like, I'm gonna go back to Pops where I ate onion rings. Like that's my heaven. I'm like, I don't know about that.
I guess that's Betty's heaven.
But you know what I mean?
But
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know, man. I get what they were trying to do, but
No,
I
it
feel
was
like
cute. We're just
I feel like
kidding
if you
now.
thought about it too hard, which we are right now,
I
then
think
you
this
kind
is
of poke the holes.
yeah,
in.
I think this is what happens when people start to like, unravel and they start to just, spiral. Like you just gotta take it for what it is, cry,
Yeah.
and then the end, and that's it.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. I feel like even through all of it, we're still seeing a few holes at the even in the final episode.
You're
NB,
gonna
where
see that.
we're
You're
out
gonna
here
see
looking
that.
for them. So
Yeah.
it's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
Just you got to call them out and call them what they are. It wasn't like that's what I mean. It was a great ending to the show.
It was.
Was it perfect? No. Was it
But
what
the
I wanted?
series wasn't
No.
perfect.
Exactly.
Like
We're
there
talking
was a
about fucking
moment where I was
Riverdale.
like, I can't believe this is over. Like could they have done another season? I'm like, hell no! They were out of
Absolutely
ideas.
not.
Like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
They ran out of ideas after season 2.
Season
Let's
one.
be real. Season 1. They were like, we got picked up.
Yeah.
Shit, what are we
Yeah.
gonna do now?
So yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Anyway, then it cuts to so sad moment with Barchie. Still ship them. Wish they got together at the end. That's my argument on it. And then after the party, her and Jughead are talking, and she says she wants to visit one last person.
I was like gagged. Like I didn't know who it was gonna be. Did you know?
Me too. I was like trying to like
Okay.
lay it all out. I'm like, who?
Like her mom. I'm like, no, but she
Yeah.
saw her. Like
I'm like, how? How?
I was like,
kills
hell
himself or
no.
something?
There's
Who
no
knows?
way to tell.
And then you find out that it's Pop Tate, and he
Sad,
died
yeah.
the year before, and it was like a big blow to the whole town. And then she asked the question to Jughead, like, what do you think happens to us when we all die? And he's like, I'm not really sure, but like I'm pretty sure that Pop is like just making burgers for people.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so sweet, but also like, can he just relax?
Can he take a day off? Like, give the man a day off, please.
But also, if you want to kill off Pop Tate, okay, another hole. If we're just gonna, I'm just gonna do it. The reason why Tabitha enters Riverdale, if you remember,
Oh,
is
yeah.
because
He was already dead.
he
Oh,
no,
no.
no, he was retiring,
He's retiring.
which is why she ends up coming back.
Yeah.
So my thinking was she should have just made her way back to Riverdale in that moment. But no. Anyway, whatever.
Like, so cheese.
But no.
You're waiting for the last minute for Tabitha.
No. Oh. No. No. And then we learn Jughead. Now we find out about Jughead's fate. He opens up something called the Jughead Madhouse magazine. It's like social commentary and like critiquing the world or whatever. And he's like, yeah, that's my legacy. Then he talks to her about legacy. Like, what do you think about like leaving things? Like, what do you think about leaving things behind? She's like, I don't really think about that shit. I had a great career. You find out that she had a great career in writing. She started like her own magazine that like still is in like still being
And
published.
that's the thing, like I wish at least one of them stayed in touch where like they knew of each other. Like these two especially, like she could have
writers
said like,
both
I
of
know I saw
them.
all your accomplishments, it was amazing. Like he could have said something like that, or she could have said that, like where it kind of just hinted like they kept in touch. At least one freaking person kept in touch.
And that's the frustrating thing is it's one thing to be like, no, but that's not realistic. They've already done that storyline for them in the show.
Yeah.
In the 7-year time jump where they all didn't keep in touch with each other.
Yeah.
So you're gonna tell me they learned that lesson and they decided we're still not gonna keep in touch with each other.
Yeah.
And then like
very
this
true.
like this emotional like, and I just do not believe if you lived multiple timelines, multiple lives with 4 people, that you would not go through your entire life not thinking that you need to stay connected to those people.
That's I know.
It doesn't make sense
it.
to me. That's not real. But like, you want to be realistic? That is realistic to me.
It would have been interesting if they brought in the idea that technology wasn't a thing at that time, because like they're still in the 60s. So like maybe Betty could have been like, I wish we had FaceTime, but like it was just so hard to like write letters or something like that. You know?
Yeah, like I could never figure out FaceTime. Otherwise, I would totally like message you guys every single day.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what I mean. The day you guys brought them to the present time, and you said that like technology does not exist.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then also, anyway, whatever. Because I remember RAS saying something like he never wanted it to be a part of the storyline.
Yeah. It's true. And they've done a great job with that, I will say.
Yeah. But okay. But that's not even real. Like,
yeah.
Like what kind of world are you living in? Anyways. But you find out she also does not get married. So everybody's fucking single, mingle. Okay, fine. You don't have to get married to be successful. Like,
yeah, like
wouldn't
you and I get it, right? Like, wouldn't you want to have lived many lives and found love and found a partnership? And I get it. You had a daughter. That's different. That's love. But I'm saying as a companion, like it doesn't even have to be male or female, or it has to be one. Maybe she married 4 or 5 men. Who knows? Like why does it always have to be this thing of she's like, oh, I never got married, but I had a kid still, and like I had an amazing life. Like they just had to put her in that box, and I was like, okay, like whatever.
And I think that's not, again, like not to like judge what the decisions they made at this point in time, but I agree with you. I think that like, why couldn't you just get married to somebody or get married multiple times? I fell in and out of love with people.
If you don't have that companionship?
She could have easily, even that though, like she could have said like, you know, in my lifetime, I had many loves.
100%.
I had multiple loves, and it was amazing. And I realized when I did not like, this could have maybe even like been okay with BARCHIE like not ending up with each other. In this scene, she could have said, I learned that when I could not be with Archie, that no man was for me.
Mm,
No one experience was just going to be for me. So I spent my entire life writing about my life and experiencing things, and I had multiple husbands and multiple girlfriends, and I
yeah.
just went off and
Like I
like
would have
just
loved
wanted to
that.
like
I would have
enjoy
he
life.
saw
Then I would have
every
been like,
facet of
got
life.
it.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Then I would have been like, okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense to me. You're telling me this woman who lived all the lives and all these things is like, nah, I'm good. I don't need anybody. I'm just gonna be an independent
Yeah.
woman.
I just
Which I get. What I also get that side of it. Like, you
yeah.
don't have to have a companion in order to like have a
Be
complete
happy.
life.
Yeah.
Fine, but like also
I just felt like they were trying to
why?
make a statement. I just felt like it was a forced statement on Betty's
Yeah,
character.
I
Like,
agree.
I'm Betty. I'm a feminist now. I'm never gonna get married, but I will
But
have
that's
a
the thing.
kid. I
And
was
I
like,
think
okay,
I
like,
think that that's a falsity too. Being a feminist doesn't mean that you're like this single woman that doesn't
no,
want
of
to get married.
course.
That's not even like what being a feminism is about. Being a
I just
feminist is
felt like
about.
that's what they were trying to like make a point with Betty, like saying that. And anyways, yeah, it is what it is. It's fine. It's
Exactly.
fine.
It is what it is. It's fine. She ends up adopting a daughter. Again, like I said, she didn't even have to adopt. Maybe she had a child through an illegitimate relationship. Who
Oh, is
cares?
that what she said? She's like, I adopted her. I
I
didn't hear
adopted a
that.
girl.
Oh,
Yeah, she's
okay.
I adopted my daughter. That was like the best thing that ever happened to me. But she could have just said like I had a daughter, like Forrest Gump, and like
Again,
like
another political statement to be like adopt, like you should do adoption. Like, do you know
again,
what I mean? Like, it's
which
just
is
like,
like go get it. Like kids need to be adopted. That's fine. But like for her storyline, I feel like if you want to give her free spirit, give her free spirit. Like go and pop off,
a
sis.
hundred
Like
percent.
it's the 70s you lived
Have
through
eight
in your
kids,
prime
eight
time.
different
Have
like
eight kids,
partners.
eight baby daddies, like all you
Just do
all like
it.
do the King Triton thing. Like I don't know, like just
It's
enjoy
just,
your life. I don't
anyways,
know.
here we are,
I
I
just feel like
guess.
what they gave her was not what I was expecting. She should have been at the very end surrounded by like 10 ethnically ambiguous children.
Yes,
You know what I
yes.
mean? Like
I'm like,
I
you're
fucked them
gonna kill this
all.
bitch in the back of the station wagon? What the fuck is this? Like, I was so cheesed. I was like, this is how you're gonna kill this iconic queen? Like, she's in this
Oh
leather ass
my god.
leather car, and she's just like, I'm like,
She's basically
no.
in a hearse already,
Surrounded
like
by her
driving.
family. Yeah, literally.
Fuck.
Like, I don't know.
Anyway, it is what it is. What am I gonna say? So she adopts her daughter. She has a granddaughter, which we see. She's like, that is my
And like
legacy.
that's the
That
thing,
my
we don't even get to see the
family.
daughter. Like it would have been so
Yeah.
nice if we saw that like multi-generational like dynamic of like her daughter and then her granddaughter in the car and they're all going together. Like I would have
Right.
it's like the random boyfriend or the husband of like the girl. Like
Yeah. And honestly, you're right. They didn't need to make. Why was the granddaughter involved? They could have made the mom,
yeah.
and it
Just to
could have
name
been
her
a really.
Alice, I guess.
But she could have named her daughter
Well,
Alice.
yeah. She could
Like,
have
why
named
did
her
she
daughter
have to name
Alice.
or her middle? That was even. That's not even a good enough reason for me not to like just have her mom like just have her mom in it, because I think this is the one thing that I said, we never got to see the relationship that Alice had with her parents.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the focus so much in this show, I mean not even in the season, in this entire freaking show,
Yeah.
was Alice and Betty.
Betty,
It
yeah.
would have been a beautiful, I don't know if you've ever seen Riding Cars with Boys, but
No.
it's this movie with Drew Barrymore, and she talks about like her relationship with her son through all these years. It would have been nice to like round it all out with like her relationship with her
With her
daughter.
daughter. 100%.
I guess it would have been
Like,
too
how
much
are
to
we
do.
sitting here? Why is it too much? Just hire another actress or don't hire the granddaughter, hire the daughter. Like,
No, what I mean by that is like I feel like it would have gone so like you could have gone so deep with that. That would have been in its own episode. I would have loved to see
I don't
that,
know.
to be
I could
honest,
have,
but-
she could have been in that backseat and been like,
Mom, yeah,
like thank,
we're
or,
going
like,
on a trip.
to
Yeah.
her daughter, like, thank you, like, for everything. You've been like the best daughter.
Yeah.
Like I loved our relationship so much. Something like that. And then like, and then she can die. Like,
Yeah.
how are we sitting here and like we come up with so much better like storylines?
It should have been, yeah, really. Like, I was like, oh, are they trying to like tee this up for a spinoff? Like, no, nobody cares about Alice part 3. Like,
I
no
just
one
felt
cares
so.
about her.
Oh, yeah. No,
was
I
like,
just
are they
felt so
trying
bad
to-
for her. I'm like her granddaughter, and then like the boyfriend of the granddaughter is like sitting there, and there's like, yo, your grandma just died. Like,
Ah! Oh my god.
they're like fucking traumatized, man.
Traumatized. It's like, does that smell in here? Like, oh god, is she dead? She's gonna rigor
How are we
mortis
gonna
that way. We
carry
gotta
her?
get her. We need to like lay her flat.
Oh my god.
Yo, what the
Oh my god.
hell?
Oh, it would have been so sweet if like Dr. Curdle was there. He's like, girl, I got you finally.
Oh, yeah. Well, he would have been done by that,
He
but
would have
yeah. But it was like Dr. Curdle Junior, Junior,
been
Junior, 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 Senior, Junior. That would have been
No,
a
it would have
gag.
been female now this time.
Oh yeah, yeah, feminism. But yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
it all finishes off. We just kind of pop through the last final scene, but
Yeah.
she's ready to face what comes next. Her granddaughter and her boyfriend drive back to Riverdale. She's like, "Goodbye, sign. Goodbye, this.
I'm
Goodbye,
like
that."
crying. And she's
Yeah.
like, goodbye sign. I'm like, is she for real?
Because she wakes her up in that moment exactly. She's like, "Grandma Maria." She's like, "Goodbye, sign." Okay,
I was like,
You
girl,
were
there's
awake.
gonna be more goodbyes. Like, calm down. Goodbye
It is-
sign.
it is a very sweet moment where she
No, it's so
says
cute.
goodbye, and then like it transforms into like Lily Reinhardt's voice, and she says goodbye to like the halls.
I need
of
to watch it
Riverdale.
again because like I was really crying and
Yeah,
I don't
it
think
was
I
super
remembered
emotional,
everything.
super emotional moment. Like hearing like all the things that she says about like every space that we as the viewers have been able to see and experience.
100%.
I thought it was so. They did a lot of great fan service, I will
They
say,
did. Yeah, they did.
for these moments to say
Yeah.
goodbye, for to allow us to say goodbye to Riverdale. So they end up at Pops, and Pops is like completely like toast, like for sale. Nobody gives a fuck about it. Um, Again, going back to the question of like, but why in 2023? Like they just decided like
I know,
not
I was
to
confused about that too. Like, why did it have to be like this dingy, like deserted
like
place?
boarded up place. Like no
Yeah.
one ever ended up taking it over.
I
Like
guess.
like that's what I mean when people talk about the fact that like they really like ignored the first 5 6 seasons. These are the moments where you're like, they couldn't just get like Tabitha to come back, or like Tabitha's brother to come back and like
Keep it
revive.
going.
Like
Yeah.
they take it so far. But anyway, the visual also is what we're supposed to
And
experience.
that's what it is, right? Like
It's like
the,
dead and quiet.
yeah.
This small town of Riverdale is basically extinct at this point because everybody
Yeah.
fucking abandoned it. Which is what I guess that's what the final message is. Sorry, the final message is, you know, they all didn't nurture Riverdale, and the reality is in many cases in small towns you do not stay there, you move on.
Yeah.
There are no Archies that save towns, and they're
Yeah.
but again, this is a comic book.
No,
We
but
could have
also
just
you're
left
right,
it as
I think the whole time we're talking about the town and Riverdale, but it's really about the people that's in the town.
yeah.
And that's maybe the message that we take from that, you know?
But the show is called Riverdale. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, I know.
The show's literally called Riverdale. And they're all like, fuck Riverdale, bye, I'm going to LA. Like, it should have been called California
well,
in this
Reggie
case. Like,
stayed. I know. Reggie stayed. He came back. And everyone else
True.
literally dipped. I'm like,
everyone dipped. I'm like, so tight, so rude. And anyway, so she ends up in front of Pops, and then she dies. And her granddaughter's like, Grandma, you dead? Super sad. And then she gets out of the car as like young Betty with her extension hair. Loved it.
Loved it. I loved
And
it.
it was
So
such a
cute.
beautiful moment where she like walks in and everybody's there and everybody's giving her hugs and embracing her. And I think one of the final things that happens is she sits down in the booth with the four of them, and they're like, perfect timing, Betty, like we
got
saved you milkshake, like strawberry's your favorite. And that's kind of like the final like pan out that we see of them all sitting together. And like I said, a cute moment for her to like think
That's
that
how I
this is
pictured
her
the show ending too. And I think we
be
talked
here
about
after.
this.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
everybody
like
at
cheersing
Pops.
and like everyone
Yeah.
that pops. Yeah. So I was happy with it.
And then Jughead kind of is like, and this is where we'll leave you. Like, this is their speed hereafter, and like this is the end of the show. The end.
Yeah, that was it.
Whoa, MB.
That was it.
That's it. That is it.
It has been a long ride. We started this podcast when we were still in our 20s.
Yeah.
We've gone through a lot, and
Definitely.
we've filmed in many different places, many different countries, in a car, in a blizzard, in a snowstorm.
Oh yeah.
We recorded
yeah.
that while JLAG was driving.
Holy yeah.
We've done a lot with this, and that's why I feel like even just watching this episode, like it felt so like I was saying goodbye to this, like the thing that we started literally in like my basement, my parents' basement. Like
Yeah,
mine,
it's
and
wild.
this
It's
is it.
so
So
wild to think like where we
yeah.
started with all of this, how far we've come in our own lives, and I think that we're not the only ones. The listeners for
Yeah.
sure have 7 years, more than 7 years, because they did
Yeah.
take a lot of
Oh,
hiatuses.
true. Yeah.
But like that's a long time to sit and stay with the show, and we did like we weren't just sitting here like, did you like the episode? We went
No, we're
through
like
line by line by
analyze.
line and
And it
broke
was
down
crazy at
this.
times, but it was so much fun.
It was so much fun, and we got to like laugh with you all, and it's just, I don't know, it's gonna be, it's one of the things that I'm for sure gonna just always remember. Like this is
Yeah.
such a special memory for us, and it's kind of funny to like that is kind of the story that they get. It's similar to ours, is like, you know, this is something that we started when we were young. This is the how the show started. They were young and they were in high school, and then everything changes, life changes, things move, and like, you know, like it's
somebody posted Lily's first tweet last night from like the first night of the premiere.
oh my
Like
god, what
it
was
I
it?
think it said like 2017
Yeah.
or maybe earlier. I don't remember. And then she was like, Riverdale like starts now, let's go, or something. Like, and she was like so like she was like a nobody at that time, you know, when it came out. And then now here, because now they can't comment on anything. The actors haven't been able to tweet about it because of the SAG-AFTRA strike, because they're not allowed to do promotions and stuff like that. So they've been all silent. Like these poor guys are finishing their whole series and they can't even like promote it or talk about it with their fans and stuff like that, right? So
I feel like they've posted like videos though. Like I saw one from
like set stuff I think they can do, but even lately, like last night she posted like a crying face and that was it. Like she can't say like tune in tonight for our series. She can't say things like
she can't
that.
promo it. Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool to see like her first tweet about Riverdale, and
that's
then now
crazy.
Yeah. All right, let's do our recap roundups because there is so much to get to.
Recap roundups. Best moment.
What was your best moment?
I think my best moment will have to be the ending, because I think it is something that we definitely did talk about. I remember you and me, like even offline, we like were like, what's that going to be the last shot?
What's it
like,
going to be like?
Yeah. And this was definitely something that I pictured and what I imagined, and I was really happy with it.
For sure. That was my best moment as well. I thought it was really, really sweet to just, despite all the flaws and all the questions that you may have by the end of this, like just visually seeing them all together, happy, young, beautiful, in the same space. It was really, really nice. I will say, I watched it the second time around and realized that like they didn't bring back Shannon Purser for this final episode.
I think we've had enough Shannon Purser. she got like the whole season. Like she's good.
For sure. But like even at the Dilton table, I would have been like, oh, just like let her sit there.
But she left technically, right?
Oh,
she left town.
But this is supposed to be like the Sweet Hereafter, so she's probably dead at this point.
Oh yeah, true.
Anyway,
that's
she's
true.
obviously not important enough for her to be in Betty's Sweet Hereafter.
Yeah.
Her half sister.
Oh my god, that's so true. Oh god.
WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment?
WTF moment, I'm gonna give to the foursome. I'm gonna give to the foursome.
You're like,
for reasons already talked about, and the fact that I just felt like it was such a cheap cop out for the writers. Like they just wanted to like cover everything, and like they weren't really brave enough to like take one road or not take any road and just be like, no, like you guys aren't getting anything. Like this isn't about ships. So
yeah. I agree with you 100%. We've already talked about it, but yeah, that's a good WTF. Mine is Fangs flying off of a mountain as his final destination. I just thought it was such a shit way for a character to go. I know that kind of stuff happens, but why to Fangs, someone that we've literally been trying to nurture the relationship for the past fucking 17 episodes? I didn't get it. I was just like, why? So stupid.
MVP.
Who's your MVP?
My MVP is gonna go to CHONI, and that's two people obviously, but I have to say CHONI, consistently amazing, iconic, so supportive, so loving throughout all timelines, all universes. And to be like sort of like these second tier characters are not really in the core four, for them to capture our hearts and like our attention for this long and until the end, literally love them. I'm gonna give it to CHONI as MVP.
Absolutely. And I think even separately as characters, when you look at Cheryl and you look at Tony fucking carried this season. So yeah, great MVPs. My MVP is gonna go to Betty. I think that having her as the final choice to kind of narrate the last episode was a great choice, and I love Lily Reinhardt, so I can't say anything bad about that. Like I love Betty.
Yeah. Betty, really, you're right. Like, here I am talking about Archie in the beginning, and I'm like, she really did the show. Like, she is the show. She's the heart of the show, for sure.
In my opinion, yeah.
LVP.
Who's your LVP?
You know what? I really don't have an LVP. Like, it was
Fair.
really hard to think about who's the least valuable. Like, I really would have loved to see Tabitha at some point, I think, in this episode, or even at the end, like in Pops. Like, there was no mention of her whatsoever. Like, she doesn't even ask about her. Like, so there was a couple of things like that. But overall, I don't have an LVP. I really don't.
Yeah, I had to think about this one too, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll give it to them. For the last time, I'm giving it to Tom and Frank. It's a double duo.
Wow.
Double digest. Tom and Frank are my LVPs for obvious reasons. The fact that these two grown-ass men died from one scrawny-ass chick is kind of shocking to me, and also, like, y'all are so dumb. I cannot believe it.
Also, everyone in our comments is, like, still, like laughing at you that you did it last week.
Called it.
Everyone's like, I can't believe it.
Died.
The best line.
My best line is gonna go to Betty, obviously. She says, I wish we could just stay in Riverdale forever with all of our friends as we were young and beautiful. And like,
so
that's
good.
so true.
I
wish we could just stay, in our lives here where we are forever young.
Yeah,
and beautiful.
sometimes
we
you
get
just wish
wrinkles,
you
so
go back to those moments. But then you look at your life now and you're just like, how much of your life has changed in such a good way that, like, living in that nostalgia is one thing.
No, and I don't. For me, it's not necessarily like that one time. It's like you wish you could just be like young and like, like those good times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought that was cute, and I really died when she said goodbye, town sign. Like, I really died.
Goodbye, Riverdale.
Goodbye, town sign.
As she wakes up from her 7-hour nap, she's like, hello. Dead. My best line is going to Jughead when she says, like, why can't we all just, like, stay here forever or whatever? And he says, that's life, Betty. You say hello, you walk along with someone for a while, and then you say goodbye. That's the arc of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every minute counts. And I was just like,
really cute.
It's
so true.
I was crying at that moment too, because I was just like, I think that's just like a life thing. Like, for all of us to take away, it was such a great moment to hear. That is what it is. Nothing lasts forever. You walk that life. People come and they go in your life. Sometimes you never see them again. Sometimes you do.
Yeah.
But that is what it is. And you say goodbye, and that's just what it is. And it was a beautiful sentiment for sure.
The writing was really on point this episode. All right, let's get into our recap or roundups, because there's so many and I want to make sure we get everyone.
Yes,
I'm going to start
please.
with @Marina on Instagram. She says, hi guys. Well, the last podcast, I started listening at the beginning of the pandemic and I've been following ever since. Thanks for the laughs and making Riverdale more entertaining. For this season finale, I really don't know what to say. I think it was a good ending, but weird. I mixed feelings. At times, very Titanic in my opinion. Best moment, the scene where Reggie finds out that the 4 of them are in a relationship and that they didn't invite him to participate. It made me laugh a lot, and I needed it in the middle of this episode. WTF moment, Frank and Tom getting killed by Chick and finding out that Nana reincarnated multiple times. LOL. I also don't know if the Jughead that took Betty to the last day is the bunker Jug Angel or Angel Gabriel. Maybe none.
What?
I forgot who Angel Gabriel was.
Angel Gabriel or Angel Anthony? Wait, what?
I don't know. Anyways.
Oh, wait, I don't know.
MVP, the whole cast. The truth is, the emotions they were feeling were noticeable throughout the performances, and obviously Lily. LVP, since I don't have one, I'm going to give it to Jason. Even in the Sweet Hereafter, he doesn't speak and just opens the door. Best line, Betty. You say hello, you walk alongside someone for a while, and then you say goodbye, and that's the arc of a life. Every minute counts. I hope the best for you, and at some point in the future, it would be great to see you reacting to your reactions. That was from Marina.
Oh, these are gonna be so hard to get
At Hannah Hannah.
Hannah.
I don't know if I'll have time to send you an actual recap roundup as we watch the show just before watching the podcast. First, I wanted to reveal that I'm the Hannah listed on your Patreon Rewinder squad. I want to say thanks for being the perfect podcast for this show. Watching Riverdale is definitely a love-hate relationship sometimes. Second, since even though I don't have an official recap roundup, I'm going to go for the cheese and say that my MVPs are NB and JLAG. And bye! And that's when she was like, P.S. I also want to acknowledge JLAG's psychic skills. I had just finished telling my boyfriend about his prediction and then it happened. I almost fell out of my chair. It was too funny. That was from Hannah.
I love you, Hannah. Thank you.
We got Mackenzie. This episode was surprisingly satisfying for what craziness they pulled. While some choices were questionable, it was a good end to the series. Plus, Twitter believes that Betty was actually Archie's wife, given how much she knew about his life, given she had to ask Jughead about everyone else. Best moment, Archie and Betty's emotional moment at Thornhill. Archie technically making his choice that he always thought him and Betty would end up together. WTF moment, Barchie and Veronica would just swap around partners in senior year. Also, the girls wanted to involve Reggie, but he was too busy with basketball. Nah. MVP, Betty. LVP, Frank and Tom getting murdered by Chick.
Yeah.
Best line, I know we'll see each other again. Maybe. We'll even end up together. You know, I've always felt it would be you and me at the end of the road. I mean, it started with us, didn't it? A boy and a girl next door to each other. Also, thank you guys for having me on for a pod this season. It was so much fun. Here's some more recap roundups in the future.
Oh, that's so
that
sweet.
Was
Thank you,
Mackenzie. This message really was amazing. I just want to read it out. It's from Lana.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a recap roundup, but it's just a comment. And she said, this show, as dumb as it sounds, has kind of shaped me to be the person I am today. Helped me realize I was gay and is how I met like the best friends ever, and y'all only made those experiences better. You're so funny and just great, and just wanted to say that. Thank you so much. That's crazy. Like what?
That's
we
so
shaped
sweet.
like it's so crazy to know that this little show that we started is like, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, more recap roundups. I think there's Twitter, so I'll give you Twitter after this.
Yeah.
Sierra N, best moment. I'll pick multiple. I hope you read them.
Do it.
I'll read them. The Barchie moment in Thornhill. I'm gonna take this some sort of end game. I know Betty says she never got married and their engagement in 622 makes up for that. But I'm taking this as no matter who they date, no matter what their life is, they always find their way back to each other. The way Jughead didn't need to tell Betty what Archie's life was gonna end up like. She says to me that she already knew because they both knew it would be each other. The final scene really got me. I think the final narration of Jughead speaking into the camera was perfect, and I love that this is how they ended. I'm satisfied. The poem scene was actually really funny, and I enjoyed seeing the cast in the same room, just having fun, especially because it felt like the cast and not the characters. WTF moment, again, I have multiple, hear me out. The foursome, I didn't get it, I didn't need it, I need the writers to have some balls and commit to end games. Not everyone's gonna be happy, and that's okay, but nobody was happy with this either, so I don't know. I think, again, Barchie remained the true end game of this four because they got their moment and no one else did. The fact that Archie and Veronica almost got shafted this episode, I feel like Betty getting the most screen time felt so odd when it's the Archie comics show, and in general, I could have used more Veronica. In general, I felt that Jughead just saying how the characters ended up in the future was a cop-out. I wanted a whole section dedicated to CHONI, and I wanted to see how they end, but they all felt like an afterthought, so dedicate time to a core four who didn't even act as a core four this whole season. Their development within this timeline was all off screen. I mean, CHONI got a good ending. Like, I will say CHONI had a great, like, final
CHONI got a good ending.
You know?
And I think that when you do learn that, like, outside of this season, they stitched all their timelines together for this one. So you have to assume safely that their core fourness comes from their history in this episode. Anyway.
Best line. This isn't goodbye anyway. I know we'll see each other again. Maybe we'll even end up together. You know, I've always felt that it would be you and me at the end of the road. I mean, it started with us, didn't it? I feel like every Barchie is they're gonna choose this quote.
Yeah. And all the Varchies are gonna be like, my best line is when she says, "That's a nice sentiment," right after that. Doesn't happen.
I don't think I can choose an MVP. It wouldn't feel right in an episode like this. LVP, the writers. Overall, this is my second least favorite season of the bunch. If it was me in charge, I would have done the season differently and not gone to the 50s. And I felt they missed so many golden opportunities with this season, especially after what was to me a really strong season 6. I think in general, only the last act of this episode felt like a series finale and not a season finale. I'm not saying that this was the worst way to end it, but to me, it wasn't good. I could have been so much better.
Totally. As with every season of Riverdale.
I know, right? I think this is a new roundup that we got here.
Go for it.
Oh wait, maybe not. Sorry. At Sweet Tooth Weirdo. Best moment. Betty and Archie's last moment kiss together. It was the only intimate romantic scene between two characters in this finale. It was bittersweet and had me in tears. BARCHIE will forever be epic. A personal best moment is meeting some really awesome people through this insane show. If it wasn't for Riverdale, I would not have some of the most epic people as friends. You know who you are. Wink face.
Oh, that's so cute.
I know. Like, who are your friends? Tell us. WTF moment 3, sorry. Betty, Archie, Veronica, and Jughead being in a polyamorous relationship, finding out that Fangs was the first one to die only a few weeks after the tour. Pops being abandoned in the present day. It could have been franchised with our girl Tabitha if we never went to the 50s.
I'm just saying.
MVP, the cast, they truly are great. LVP, RAS, please no one give that man another show to ruin. The best line, forget Riverdale, fat chance. It will always be my home, our home. Oh, they're so cute.
It's just annoying because all those lines are so good, but they never end up like coming to fruition.
I know. That's so true.
They're all sweet lines. But anyway, yeah, I love those lines. Do we have any more?
We have more. At Naomi, we got a lot this time.
Let's
MVP,
go.
Betty, for obvious reasons, but for her big part in this episode. LVP, yes. No one. It was a very good episode. WTF moment, Kevin saying that B, V, and Archie and Jughead have been together, the 4 of them. So weird, but funny. And for the ships, the best thing to do, in my opinion, without fights about who ended up with whom. That's very good. Nice of you.
That's a very diplomatic way to say it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Best moment of few. The last ride in Archie's car with the 4 of them was also so fun and nostalgic. Archie making fun of the show and writers in his poem, like the cult member joke. Betty walking out of the car and seeing everyone and clinging the milkshakes together. Best line, also a few. Doesn't matter how far away we are, we'll always be in each other's lives, I promise. Because it also represents their friendship. So cute. I don't want to say goodbye. It'll be too painful. That's life. You say hello, walk alongside with somebody for a while, and then you say goodbye. Every minute counts. Yeah. Next to your father got me too. And the end with all the goodbyes. Goodbye, Red Door, and the secrets behind it. Goodbye, Riverdale High and time. Goodbye, Riverdale. It was wonderful. I absolutely love this episode. It all fits together so well. Love that it's from Betty's POV and that she said goodbye to everyone and asked if their dreams came true. It really was a full circle moment, and I loved it. Also with the part where Betty's happy they all met and with the heartbreaks, made me think about Cole and her and the other relationships like Cammie and Charles. Loved how it all pieced together in real life. I never cried so much in an episode. Whenever they cried, especially Lily, I cried too. And that was almost all the time. Loved it that Jughead, Time Traveler, and Betty were together this episode, and not in a romantic way, but friendship way. I really love this episode. Sad, warm, and funny. Very nostalgic too. I also want to thank you guys for this podcast. I really like to hear your opinions. It feels weird to close this chapter, but it was a good one. Even with all the weird stuff like gargoyles and harvesting organs, it's just Riverdale and so fun. Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
And then, did I already say at Sylvie? No, I don't think I did. It was such a beautiful episode, and all along I was thinking how hard it must have been for the cast and crew to get through it. Thank you, Riverdale, for keeping us entertained, and thank you, Recap Rewind, for making it even more entertaining. I love your fine analysis, your theories, and the huge amount of laughs you shared with us. Looking forward to seeing what you will be up to next. Toodles!
Toodles!
Toodles! Okay, I think that is it for IG.
Okay, well, we'll keep the train going. I'm just going to pull up our notifications. So I apologize if you didn't add us, because it's not going to show up on where I'm at. And if you can and be and I miss one, then just let me know. But at Jiffy Pop Culture, I'm going to start from there. It's more of a comment than anything else. Just saying, recap rewind as we watch this final episode. I just want to thank you for 7 years of fantastic Riverdale coverage. Your podcast gave us smart analysis, insightful theories, and so many laughs. You made watching this wonderfully crazy show even better. Love you both.
Love you.
Love you. And I said it last episode too. It's so weird to see people that like we have been talking to people since the very beginning. So like so many of these people have been literally been listening for the past 7 years. And
literally, and it's interesting. I was talking to my husband too. Like here we are every week talking to like each other in like our rooms and like into a camera, and like it's so weird to think that it's going out into this world and like we're touching so many people and like they're messaging us and like we really have created this small little like community and family.
Little community, and we
sometimes
all get
it's hard to remember that because we're just recording like this, and you're like, oh my god, all these people are listening to us, and like you know.
It's it really like makes it all worth it in my opinion, for sure. It's someone says shut the Smurf up. They really had no excuse to put Kevin and Fangs back together. Oh, I don't know why that's a comment, but okay, gonna keep going. Another one from Jiffy Pop Culture. Did anyone in 1956 Riverdale have a boring average sex life? The core four were Polly, B and V were bi, Shoni, Clay, Kevin, Kevin's dad, Uncle Frank, Mary Andrews, and those random vixens were all LGBT. And I caught vibes from Archie and Reggie too. Did I leave anyone out? Yeah, I guess like Fangs and Midge were the only like straight couple they ever showed.
Yeah.
That final scene, and he gets launched off of a cliff, so bye to that. Okay, we have Shoni5 on it, saying thank you guys for doing your pod for over 7 years. I'm so grateful and I've enjoyed every second of it. I hope that you guys continue to do podcasts in the future. Best moment, Shoni Endgame, hee, and none for the other ships. LOL. Vanessa's son River being Shoni's son named Dale. Super cute. And also so right, like Shoni5 on it is like the happiest probably of the like anybody. She's like Shoni like made it through. WTF, the core four being in a foursome. They really wanted to censor us until the end, huh? And I guess Fang's dying at 18. Chick killing Uncle Frank and Tom Keller. Alice not making it into the sweet hereafter. And Betty and Jughead basically ending up alone. MVP, the entire cast, I loved it so much. LVP, no one. Best line, Shoni basically living full sexy lives together and dying peacefully.
You know what? That was a great line. Happy. I forgot to mention that one.
He's like, they had sexy, beautiful lives. I was like, okay, sexy. I'm so happy for my beautiful endgame. You should be happy.
They made you proud.
They did the damn thing. Mackenzie sent hers in. We have at MTV Whore. Love the name. I'll always love that name. Best moment, the final Barchie kiss. WTF moment, Grandma Betty dying in the back of her granddaughter's car.
So savage.
So savage.
Gotta sell that car, girl.
Yeah, you gotta clean
Bad
that
memories.
MVP, Betty, the main character. LOL. Best line, Archie to Betty, I always thought it would be you and me in the end, as it should have been, she says. Which is that is a T. Do we have any more? I think that might be it. Oh god, I'm gonna lose it.
That is it for our recap roundups.
That is our recap roundups for Riverdale officially. Final episode, everything is done. We're closing this off. It has been truly, anyway, I'll say it at the very end. But right now I would like to take this time to thank our patrons of this episode, our Rewinder squad, White, Cliff, Hannah, Julia, Haley, our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann and Kate, and our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah.
Well, this is it. So I'm not going to even plug our Patreon, but I just want to say thank you to our supporters on our Patreon. Thank you to our listeners, our commenters that you guys like comment every week and you send us in your roundups. Yes, to say what you were saying, it's been a blast in a glass to do this for absolutely. 7 years. We turned it into something that like I don't even think we ever imagined it would be from the start.
No, not at all.
We did this like for fun, drinking and just like talking about a TV show, and it's become this thing. So very grateful, very blessed to have these memories, and
for sure. And what a co-host. Like we got to do this damn thing together, MB, and it's been such a such a light, like what a life, like the things that we did, like you said at the top of the episode, the places that we recorded this, the dedication that we were like, we got to get this out to our listeners. We really push ourselves.
Yep.
We have to shout out to the fact that like we got an amazing opportunity, like once in a lifetime opportunity to talk to not only fucking Mark Consuelos, but also the Kelly Ripa in this world for doing this show. Like I can't even, like that is something that's far surpassed what I could have imagined our little
100%.
podcast to be.
100%.
And multiple times we have, like, you know, that is something that for sure. And like you said, all the listeners along the way, 7 years is a long time. 7+ years is a long time to do one project and one focus thing like this. And life I find is really changing now. Literally had to have my baby on a couple episodes ago because that motherfucker wouldn't sleep when I wanted to do this. And you know, we try so hard to get this out to you, and we are so happy that we were able to see. I am so proud of both of us that we stayed dedicated
till the end, baby, till the end.
And just thank you to everyone. Thank you so much to everyone who has followed us and supported us every single, even if it was brief, even if it was short, even if it was long. I just love it, and I'm so filled with all the gratitude, all the love.
Yeah, and keep the messages coming because we love to read it.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna take a page from one of the things that Archie said, and like maybe we'll end together. Maybe I'll see you again. Like you never know. Life is life, and we'll just keep it open ended for y'all.
Yep.
Anyway, lots of love. Bye.
Recap, rewind.
Signing out.
Bye.
Bye.